So everyone's been saying to me this week, I don't think Scott Barrett should be captain.
They can still win the Bledisloe, they can still win the Rugby Championship, and what then? Then it's fine again.
Victor, I don't think it's fine again.
South Africans, when their backs against the wall, they just stand up. And that Griquas back was unbelievable.
The Black Ferns, we just expect them to win World Cups because that's what they do. And now they're not even in the final.
We need to get back to like an NRL format and bring back the Ranfurly Shield.
I'm just going to have to find an Argentinian and an Australian to come on the show with me and move you guys aside. Right, welcome to Rivals, gentlemen, and let's get straight into it. A massive game for the All Blacks this weekend after Victor's South African friends upset us the other week. JK?
Yeah, it's a massive game for South Africa as well, Ricardo. Like, what are you undermining Argentina, are you? It's a massive
No, I'm just saying,
South
Africa's full of confidence. You know, they're winners, and you're not.
Okay, all right, okay, I know.
The pressure's getting to you already.
He's even got the black glasses on this morning.
Don't start me.
The white one is gone.
Can you just don't start me, all right? I've had a good weekend. I'm good. Well, the Black Ferns lost, so I'm not that good. But yeah, look, Ricardo, it's as you would know, Victor. Like, you don't obviously live in New Zealand, but if the same things happen in South Africa, the whole country is pretty stressed about it. And you know what it's like. They all of us, because we're such a rugby nation, we're all looking into whether it's the coach, is it the captain, is it the leadership, is it this, is it that? And so it's been a pretty tough time, I should imagine, for the players in that. There's a lot of noise going on. And yeah, to answer your question properly, Ricardo, I think it's a massive weekend. Like I said this, I think, and you might disagree with me, Victor, but I think if this side wants to become a great side, and when we talk great sides now, we're talking about winning trophies and winning the World Cup, right? That's the yardstick. I think great teams go through adversity and they come out the other side way better. And I think this is a moment of adversity, the first big moment of adversity for the coaching staff and this current crop of players. So I reckon it's massive, because if we can get up and beat a good Australian side and take home the championship, then that's got to be seen as a success. And people say, we should be winning a whole lot more, but the game's way closer, Victor. Like, the teams are way closer now, and that's how it should be. I think it's great for the competition. Hard on us, but great for the competition.
What do you think is going to happen, Victor, in the Bledisloe?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I see there's a lot of talk about the Razor and Joe Schmidt's relationship, what happened in the past. So there's definitely some oil in the fire this weekend. So it's nice to see. And I think it's good for the Bledisloe Cup. For the last few years, there wasn't really a lot of competition and New Zealand just won it too easily. And all of a sudden, I think this Australian side will compete on this weekend. So it's going to be an interesting match, and the same with the Rugby Championship. We're back to square one almost, back to zero. Everyone is there. Anyone can still win it. I've said it. Argentina is probably the best attacking side in the world at the moment. So they will test South Africa. South Africa will feel, listen, we're back at it. The confidence are back. But I've said it. Normally, we're not very good when we're the favourites. We're much better when we're the underdogs. But it will be interesting to see what Russia is going to do. Some of the youngsters came through. Is he going back, giving some of his older players opportunity again? So that will be interesting. But I'm really looking forward to the Bledisloe Cup. I think it's going to be a huge match. And Australia is competitive. In all the games, even when they start badly, they stick into the game. They don't let the game get away, and they're competitive at the end. So it's going to be good, but I'm with John on it. I don't think you'll ever get an era again like the All Blacks had over the last 10 years or 15 years, where you win close to 90, 85% of your games. I think all the teams is just too competitive. When we go over to the Northern Hemisphere at the end of the year, you have to play Ireland, you have to play England, you have to play France. I don't think we just pitch up as South Africa and New Zealand and expect to win those games anymore.
So, just listening to the two of you, one of you is in a state of confidence after the last test, and one of the state of lack of confidence after the last test. As a player, what's easiest to go into mentally when you've got that frustration after the last game when you've lost, or when you're feeling so confident about winning that you just need to roll out and keep doing what you do?
Ricardo, I'm not actually lacking confidence. It's not lacking confidence. I think it is a really critical moment. So to answer your question, adversity for me means that these moments throw up a whole lot of questions, right? If you think about what South Africa, and the amazing thing about Russie, under that pressure, he doesn't fold. He just does what he wants, changes the team, does a whole lot of different stuff, right? This, and wins. This particular moment in time for the All Blacks is, okay, our scrum wobbled a wee bit. Is that a reflection of our scrum? Let's just hope it's a one-off. Our line-out wobbled a wee bit. Is that a reflection of our line-out? Our line-out has been pretty good. Where were our leaders in the second half when we need them? Is our leadership need some tweaking, right? And then the coaching staff will look at themselves and saying, are we doing too much for the players? Are we not doing enough for the players? So for me, it's a moment in time. I don't lack the confidence. I just believe that, I mean, and I'll throw to you, Victor, this will be a really interesting one for you because you're one of the greatest locks who ever played, right? So everyone's been saying to me this week, I don't think Scott Barrett should be captain. It doesn't look like he enjoys it, and I don't think he's playing well, right? And so I say, well, there's three questions there. If he doesn't like being captain and it's affecting his play, that means the coach needs to sit down and have a really honest chat with him. I still think he's playing well. I think he's got a good work rate. I also say this, Richie McCaw after the 2007 World Cup, like we were all saying, he can't captain, bad decisions. He even said in his own book, like I was thinking about retiring, it was a terrible time. Then he became our greatest captain, right? So for me, there's a whole lot of these questions that only the players can answer, only the players can answer. I think one of the biggest issues, think about this. That wasn't the worst game I've seen the All Blacks play. The worst game I've seen the All Blacks play was the pre-season game before the World Cup in Twickenham. We got smashed from minute one, right? And then we came through and went to the final. So it's not a lack of confidence, Ricardo. I believe there's a few things that aren't working, and this All Black team will come together. They'll be honest. They'll work it out, and then they'll come through this and they'll be way better. And that's what I firmly believe. But the Barrett question, Victor, is a real interesting one because I still think he's playing well. But captaincy is an interesting moment, right? Some people love it, some people don't. But you still have to learn it. Is he still learning it?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think people sometimes go overboard with the captaincy issue. If you go back to Siya Kolisi, when he got the captaincy in the beginning, he was kind of a little bit insecure, didn't know how to do it. Rossi came out and said, Siya, the only thing I want you to do is there's two things I want you to focus on. Firstly, body language. I need you to be positive. Doesn't matter what happened on the field, I need you to be positive. Second thing, you're only going to talk to the ref, and every game, I'll tell you what's the points that we want to drive in a test match. And that's how Siya started. If you could look back at 2019 World Cup, Dwayne Vermeulen, whenever they got into a circle, Dwayne was the guy talking. Eben would be from the side. But Dwayne and Andre, those two were the guys talking in the circle. But then from there, Siya grew so much over the next 4 or 5 years. Next World Cup, it's completely different. You could see he took on a much more responsibility within the leadership group. So I think people go overboard with the captaincy. These days, it's about a leadership group. It's about the relationship between the coach and the captain. How do you make vital decisions on the field? I mean, in the beginning, Rassie probably made all the decisions from the side. That's why he was on the side sometimes, the British and Irish Lions Test series as well. And then as the captain started understanding the coach, understanding how he wants to play, how he sees the game. I mean, when I was with Heineke Meyer with the Bulls, in the beginning, he also liked to come onto the field. And at some stage, I said to fitness guy running. I said, just go away. I'll make the decision. And Heineke wasn't happy with it at some stage. And I said, Heineke, 89% or 90% of the time we're going to make the right decision. But sometimes on the field, I can feel something that you can't feel because you're not on the field. And you must allow me to make those decisions. But that was only after we worked together for 4 or 5 years. And we looked at the game exactly the same. So, I mean, Scott Robertson and Barrett has been together as captain coach with the Crusaders. So they must understand how they want to play, how they want to, when you lose momentum, how do you get it back? What do we go back to? So I still think, I'm with you, Jake. I think he's a great player. I think he's still going to be a great All Black captain as well. So, I mean, a week ago, after you've beaten us at Eden Park, everything was fine. It was a great All Black team. Now everyone is, listen, what's going to happen here? The one thing that I have to say is, I think with South Africa, Russia has created a group of players, and there's different styles that fit different games. And I think where the game is going, that's what you need. You need a different 10. You maybe need a different 9, 15 that can change up a game. Depends on what you want on the weekend. And that's something I haven't seen with the All Blacks. It's always the same. They haven't given any new guys opportunities at 10, 15. It's pretty much the same every week. And there's probably only one way that they want to play.
So I totally agree with that. I think Scott Barrett's the man for the future. I think, but there needs to be some change. The leadership group need to step up. They need to sit around them. There needs to be some honest discussion, and I'm convinced there will be, Ricardo. So I totally agree with Victor, but that doesn't mean it's just going to happen. You know, Victor tells his coach to not interfering. They're big moments. Like, you can say it pretty easy now, Victor, but that takes courage, right? And there just needs to be some real courageous conversations this week, and I'm convinced there will be, and it'll be the best thing, right? It'll be the best thing that happened for them. So I'm pretty confident that you need these moments, and I'd rather have them now, a couple of years out from the World Cup. I do agree with you, Victor, and sometimes I think our halfback crisis has been about really about injury, right? So now we've got Cam Roygard back, got Hotham back. I think there's a couple of the boys back. But the interesting thing for me, I don't think we have the depth that we had before. So when you talk about fullback, someone just doesn't come straight into my mind as, yeah, okay, we could try that. Same with first five. So I think we've got some depth issues, and this is when guys like Richie Mwanga go overseas for the yen, they go over for money, then I think we're suffering a little bit like Australia's suffering. Will Skelton having to go back to his French side will weaken them because they don't have two others like him. And that's where I think South Africa has definitely got the jump on us at the moment, where they've got way more depth. I don't know. How do you see it, Ricardo?
Well, I don't think that's an accident, though. I think that's something that Russie's been consciously building by taking risks. And it's a lot easier to take risks when you've just won the World Cup as a coach. You go, well, I'm going to have a grace period because people rate me because I've won the World Cup, so I can experiment. Whereas if you're Razor Robinson coming in, you're trying to prove yourself, you don't have that same opportunity. But South Africa's done an amazing job building depth. They may have lost 1 or 2 tests along the way, but now they're in this incredible position where they've got 30 or 40 players that they can pick and choose. Now, we're not in that position. And I want to ask you about one player in particular, JK. How big a loss, when you talk about leadership, was Cody Taylor?
Yeah, massive. He's had probably the best 2 seasons. I just wanted to correct you on something. Russie's not a South African coach. He's a South African god. He's a god over there, mate.
I thought that was Victor.
Victor's a god. He's not coaching.
Dr. Russie Erasmus.
Yeah, look, I think, like Victor said a couple of weeks ago, and he was right. And this is where I think we need to look at the way we've been doing things for the last 15, 20 years. Players playing overseas, all those things. So they have incredible depth right at the moment. I don't think New Zealand has that type of depth anymore, right? So to answer your question, you can't keep changing the side if you're going to lose, and you can't have someone who you think's world-class coming back up. So
can I challenge that on JK? Because you say, well, where's our next fullback? Well, what about a guy called Ruben Love? Like, why isn't he playing more?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Victor's. I agree with what Victor said, is that we need to play these guys, right? And I think your first statement that when Razor came in, we all thought he might have made wholesale changes and tried stuff in his first year. When you get away with stuff, it's called the honeymoon period. And he wanted to win, and I understand that. And I think that's what Russie's done and what Rays have done have been two different philosophies. And I do think that we do need to take more risk. But like you said, coming off, you're winning, and Russie says things like, I'm going to try some stuff, and the public back him, right? And then he has a loss and he has a win, has a loss, has a win. And so do we. But maybe we do need to be a little bit more courageous on playing guys. But are you going to do it this week, Victor? Are you going to do it this week, Ricardo? No, you're not going to do it this week. And to answer your question, yeah, we miss guys like Cody Taylor. But I also think Samasone came on and did an amazing job.
But JK, why won't you do it this week? I mean, the guys didn't perform at a certain level. Shouldn't they know there's consequences? And I don't say make 15 changes, but if there was 3-4 guys that didn't stand up, didn't perform in the biggest or second biggest test match of the season, shouldn't they make change? And I think that was probably the thing with Russie is, listen, guys, you had the opportunity at Eden Park. This was a big test for us. Some of you didn't come through. I'm going to give other guys opportunity to see what they can do. And I know it's a big risk. And I know as players, we always like, give us another chance. But at some stage, and he will never throw them away. He will definitely bring that old players will get an opportunity again. But it's almost just like showing to him, listen, there's other guys that can do the job. You're not always just safe in your little environment. And I've seen it with teams, and I'm not talking about the All Blacks. I've seen it with provincial teams, other teams in rugby, where they almost start believing their own nonsense they're talking, coming up for each other, almost not seeing the weaknesses within the squad. And sometimes, and I think that's where Russie is very hard. There's certain stats, if you don't live up to it, you're out. If you're not in the 23, you're negative, I'll kick you out of the squad. If you don't perform on a Saturday, there's other players. They'll get opportunity. I mean, last year, when we played Australia as well, that second test match, played a young team. First half, they struggled. It could have easily, the easiest thing that he could have done is he had all the experienced guys on the benches to say, listen, go change the game. He said, no, I've picked your youngsters. You need to come through in the second half. And they did come through in that second half. So I think that's really one thing that Russie got right within the squad, as everyone knows it's a 34-man squad. It's not a 15-man or 23-man team. Everyone is there, and whoever gets the opportunity needs to perform, because otherwise someone else is going to get the opportunity. So I think for me, this is the first time with New Zealand where doesn't matter what happened, they almost just stick with the same guys. I haven't seen other guys in the New Zealand jersey. I mean, I haven't seen. I don't know guys that can step in because no one had gotten opportunities.
Yeah, look, I think that part of well, it was in my day, you always got a couple of games to put things right. But I do think it's two different philosophies at the moment, Victor. I do think that you're correct that Russie's got he's got a philosophy of a 33, 34-man squad, and he's playing them. I agree, and I think that takes courage. I don't think this current selection committee with Razor have the same philosophy. I think they're going to change people out for injuries. And I just think it's a philosophy thing. Is it the right philosophy? I think time will tell. I was convinced, and obviously you played the video back to me. I thought that coming off Auckland, that some of the things you lost, the reason why you lost the test match was some combinations and some errors. I thought by completely changing the side, that would change. I was wrong. It didn't. They played incredibly well, especially in the second half. So I think there's pros and cons, but I definitely think it's a philosophy. If you're an All Black, you normally get another chance after you've lost. Is that the right philosophy? I think it's a really valid point, and I can't answer that because I think the only ones that need to answer that is the All Blacks if we don't have the depth.
Isn't it a beautiful thing though that we've got, we've got one more home and away round or one more double round, and we still have no idea who's going to win the Rugby Championship. And we're sitting here deciding whether it's going to be the All Blacks or South Africa, but it could easily be Argentina or Australia. So,
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think the championship has ever been this open. I think it's the first time ever that any of the four teams can win it. And I mean, I'm nervous for this weekend because we normally don't play very well in Durban. I don't know why. I think maybe, again, I said it, we actually like dry weather, and Durban with the humidity is always very difficult to play ball in hand. So we'll probably have to play a bit more conservative again. Although hopefully it won't be too hot, although it's getting hotter now. But yeah, so I mean, any team can win it, and I think Argentina's a big threat. Australia's a big threat, and even for the Bledisloe Cup, it's fantastic that Australia is back in there again. So yeah, I'm excited. Anyone can still take it, and I mean, here we're sitting, we're talking about the All Blacks going through tough time. They can still win the Bledisloe. They can still win the Rugby Championship, and what then? Then it's fine again. So
yeah,
the
I
margins are
don't,
so
Victor,
small at this level.
Victor, I don't think it's fine again. I think that sometimes when you win, it can cover over the cracks, and that's what I'm hoping this week's like for the All Blacks. That some of those cracks might be quite deep, and they fill them up. I think winning sometimes is not a good thing if there's things gone off the track. Because it just goes, oh yeah, we're all good again. Like the high ball. The loss against Argentina, did we see some aspects of that again in the second half against South Africa? Yes, we did. So that's what I'm talking about doing a real deep dive right now. This is the adversity we need to come through, and we shouldn't see some of those errors again. So sometimes I think winning, although there's no way I want to lose, we just got to take that 40 minutes against South Africa as really, really important moment.
Well, talking about the importance of learning from your losses, the Black Ferns, that we just expect them to win World Cups because that's what they do, and now they're not even in the final.
Yeah, I mean, I think the games that I watched, and then the Canada were very good, right? But this particular Black Fern side, if you analyse it, they actually haven't started well all tournament. They've actually been slow starters. I mean, Japan scored against them early. They're up 10-0 or whatever it was. And that really cost them against Canada. That Canadian side's a very, very good side. They've beaten us a couple of times in the last 2 years. I think there was some really interesting things going on with the Black Ferns, and I think they'll do a great review. But if you're a rugby fan, it's a little bit, Victor, it's a little bit like this conversation we're having. The female game has come on leaps and bounds. I mean, I think the last World Cup that we won was the closest ever, and then this one now is even closer. So I don't think we deserve to go into the final, and I think the two finalists are those two teams that actually deserve to be there. And we'll just have to regroup. We need to really look at what we're doing at World Cups because the All Blacks have lost one now, and now the Black Ferns have lost. So we need to take a good look at our high performance way.
And the Canadian story is a great story. I mean, they basically crowdfunded to get the team to the World Cup. They got people to put money into the coffers to get them there, and played some of the best rugby that any team's played this year. I mean, are you seeing more awakening of women's rugby in South Africa because of this World Cup, Victor?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's the most they've been spoken about women rugby in South Africa. I said it before the World Cup, but it's not a big game in South Africa yet. But all of a sudden there was focus. I mean, Canada were over here before the World Cup. They played 3 test matches, and like you say, they're a very good side. I mean, we couldn't live with them. They gave us 50 every week. Against that New Zealand B side, we got the win, and then in the quarterfinal, I think for that first half, we were very competitive. But Canada is a fantastic team, and yeah, for South Africa, we need to look at our ground level if we really want to make it successful. all our sports that do well, we've got a very strong school system with that. At this stage, we don't play rugby at school level or women's rugby in South Africa. So that's maybe something that we need to look at to make it bigger, to almost grow that love for the game. So in South Africa, we're still very conservative. There's still a lot of people that worry if girls should play rugby. But yeah, I think there was a lot of attention on these girls. And I mean, when they made that quarter final, the celebration, the emotion, I think that will get a lot of girls to think, listen, it's kind of a little.
What's going to happen in the final, JK? England versus Canada.
Oh, I think that England would have preferred to play New Zealand because the motivation would be massive because of the last World Cup. I think consistency, I'd be like, it'd start to be a real issue if England don't win this next final. You know, I think they've got the better side. You know, I think that they've got the motivation. They lost the last World Cup. So I think they'll have home ground advantage. I think they have motivation through the roof because they should have won the last one. And I just think they've got a little bit too much class across the park. So England will win.
I'll tell you what, I'm picking Canada. Don't underestimate them. I think, you know, and I'm probably going to be wrong as normal, but I would just love to see Canada be one of the great rugby stories of the year. But like Argentina beating South Africa in Durban.
I can see you've got COVID. COVID is getting to your brain, Ricardo.
Talking about great rugby stories, how about that Currie Cup final?
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, I'm an old Griqua. Played there for 2 years after mine at 21 days. And we were lucky also to get to a semi-final, but couldn't make it further. They haven't won the Currie Cup since 1970, and to see them to come out at Ellis Park and beat the Lions, who played a full URC team. I mean, they don't even have quarter of the budget of the Lions, and to come out to perform like that, and again, it just showed South Africans, when no one gives them opportunity, backs against the wall, they just stand up, and that Griqua back was unbelievable. So stood up physically, they dominated the Lions, and yeah, problems for the Lions again. They've been struggling for the last few years. They're always our worst team in the URC, and I think someone needs to have a look at what's happening there as well.
It's just a reminder, though, you know, it was an amazing game, you know, won in the last minute. Another amazing game in New Zealand for Otago to win the Ramfilly Shield. Just how special things like the Currie Cup are and the Ramfilly Shield to our nations.
I've got a question for you, Victor. Is the Currie Cup getting more important now that there's no Super Rugby, or has URC taken that over?
No, URC has taken over. So, unfortunately, look, we love Currie Cup in South Africa, but unfortunately, at this moment, it's more like a development competition. If you look at the Bulls, the Sharks, and the Stormers, they haven't played the URC players in the competition. So they played all the youngsters to give them opportunity. So most of the teams are almost like under 23 teams for the big clubs. The Bulls and the Stormers and the Sharks did play the last game, but they were already out of the semi-finals. They played the URC teams just almost for a warm-up for the URC that starts this weekend. So, yeah, unfortunately, it's not quite up there like it was in the old days. We had all the Springboks, everyone playing in the Currie Cup. So it's I'll say, development competition where we give our youngsters opportunity. They get out there. But I mean, when it gets to semi-finals, finals, there's always excitement around it because it stays the Currie Cup.
Did you win it, Victor?
I won it 3 times, Ricardo. And then I missed out a few because with the Springboks we didn't play. So yeah, we won it with the Bulls 5 times in my time there.
And just getting back to the second part of that question, Ricardo, like the Ranfilly Shield was one of the most amazing shields I played for. It brought out the best in us. It brought out the best in, in the opposition, and they were just epic encounters. I mean, to win it was named the game of the century, and when we lost it to Waikato, it was one of the worst days of my life. So I think it moving around a lot, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. It's probably changed hands 3 or 4 times this year already, hasn't it? And so, but it does bring out the best. And this is when we get back to tribalism and traditionalism, and I've said this 100 million times before. I don't think the franchise model works in New Zealand. I think tribalism and traditionalism does. I mean, you won't know this, Victor, but back in the day, our 2 provinces split. So we had a whole Auckland region, and then North Harbour split. We used to have the Battle of the Bridge. It was like an epic encounter, And I just think that with the South Africans leaving Super Rugby, we need to get back to like an NRL format and bring back the Ranfurly Shield into that environment, bring back the Battle of the Bridge, bring back all these tribal and traditional moments where you support your local team. Some people say that horse has already bolted, Victor. They say, oh, no, that's true. But, once South Africa left, I don't think Super Rugby's been the same, and we've got to have the courage to change to stay competitive with you guys.
Well, it's actually interesting. We had the same problem in South Africa. I don't know if you remember with Super Rugby, we also went to almost the franchises, the Cats, and where the Cats was Griquas, Free State, and the Lions together, and the Stormers were Boerland, SWD, and the Bulls were the Pumas, the Falcons, and that didn't work because there's no identity. So then we went back to no, let the Bulls have their own franchise that the Lions have, and they can go pull guys if they want to in Super Rugby, but that belonging to something, have a little culture around the team. Now there's certain derbies that will always be bigger than others. I think you need that in rugby.
Yeah, I don't think, Ricardo, and I don't know if this is a dumb idea, but I don't think we need to change back to Auckland. If we want to stay, if the 5 franchises want to stay as their franchise, they just can't pull from the other parts of the franchise, because Tasman might. I think it's a top 8 competition with 4 or 5 from Australia, like a Manly, a Randwick, a Brothers from, and you have a team from Perth, and we just play like an NRL. So, you don't have to dismantle them completely if you think that you still want to keep the Blues, but I think we should go back to.
So the one thing in the rugby that, and I've said it in South African rugby as well, where I think we're not getting it right, is to say, listen, these are the 4 teams that play in URC, or this is the 4 teams that play in the Super Rugby back in the day. If you look at the French clubs, and that's why people will invest money into it. You need private money if you want to grow the game. And if a team can't go and can play at the highest level, why will anyone invest in it? Because there's no returns for whoever wants to put money into it. And if you look at the French league, I mean, I was part of it myself, George Cregan, Anton Oliver. We went over to go play for Toulon in the 2nd division. We brought them up, and then they won the Heineken Cup 3 times. But if they weren't allowed to, and it was just Toulouse, La Rochelle, Clermont that were allowed to play in the Heineken Cup, no one will invest in the other teams. So I think that's something in the Southern Hemisphere where we can go back to. Let's get our unions, let's get our teams that there's tradition with. But if someone wants to spend money, pay, get them to up, have promotion relegation, and let them play at the highest level, I think you'll see much more money invested into rugby.
Ricardo, you know this because you're a TV guy. Wasn't it about the TV rights when South Africa were in, and didn't we piss them off during COVID and just say goodbye?
You got to remember.
You did. You want to share the income with us, and we're like 80% of Super Rugby.
Super Rugby was put together in the space of about 4 or 5 days at the end of the '95 World Cup. Where, like, I was part of the management of that All Black team, and we called a press conference on the Thursday, and no one showed up because Louis Lake told everyone that rugby had gone professional. Like, no one knew it was coming. It happened that quickly. And so, rugby's still a relatively young game as a professional sport compared to a lot of other professional sports. And we need to keep evolving and changing and learning and stuff. But, my biggest concern about the whole thing.
The only thing we evolve and change too much are the rules. What Victor and I are talking about is we need to evolve actually how a game's played.
Yeah, but there's a much bigger concern for me, and that's Victor playing pickleball. What's that about?
Yeah.
Pickleball.
Is that what it was?
It was paddle. It's
Oh,
paddle.
paddle.
Paddle is huge in South Africa, and me and my 11-year-old beat my wife and our 16-year-old. So we were very happy last night.
Yeah, that's not a wise move, though, Victor. That's not a wise move.
Which is why you're sleeping in your office now.
And on Sunday,
Yes.
Victor, I was going to send you actually a video because Sunday I had sausage day, so I had my
Yes.
friends round to make sausages. But we don't make.
And did
your
you
South
try the
African-
brandy the South African way, not the cognac way?
Not yet. Not yet. I'm going to do that. But I just reminded myself that we didn't make a South African sausage. What do you call them? Boerewors? What do you call them?
Boerewors.
Boerewors. Yeah, no, we didn't
Yeah.
make those.
All right. Well, hopefully, like if all things go well, both of you are smiling next week. Otherwise, I'm just going to have to find an Argentinian and an Australian to come on the show with me and move you guys aside.
Ricardo, have you worked out what happens if South Africa and New Zealand win both their games and come down to bonus points?
Mate, you're just asking me because I got school C maths. I haven't worked that out. No, I haven't.
You did cheat.
Yeah. All right. Thanks very much, and all the best to both sides and to our Australian, Argentinian viewers, listeners. Tough one.
Thank you very much. I'm behind New Zealand as well this weekend. See.
Exactly. I'll try the brandy, Victor, but I can't find a half a litre cup. Where do you get those half a litre cups from?
That's our normal Friday afternoon Braai Club Ace cups.
Okay, but we do better. We do better barbecues than South Africans do braais, mate. That's the next competition. You and I need to have.
We've got the big tour next year. We'll get you over. I'll show you all the culture in South Africa.
Beautiful. Can't wait.